Yes guys, I am currently in Tamworth. I told you I'd be back. Anyway, if you like the content, please consider going over to the YT channel, the one with the big red button, youtube.com/Pazaboilo, and please watch a video on there, or if you like the videos and you want first look at any content, then go over to that channel. I can't say too much on Facebook or TikTok because they limit the reach on your posts when you talk about different websites, which is understandable, but I'm currently monetized on Facebook and TikTok. YouTube's pretty much the last one that I want to get. If I can get monetized on YouTube, I will be able to continue on making the videos. At the minute, if I'm honest with you, I rely on the donations from the coffee fund. But yeah, if you like the content, please go over to the YT channel. And even if you just leave it on in the background, you won't believe how much it actually helps. I think it's 4,000 watch hours that I need, and I've got like 3,100 so far. So we're only 900 hours off. And for comparison, on TikTok, I think I've got like something like 9 weeks of watching, if that makes sense. It's about the same, and I've only been doing Facebook for 4 months. So it's definitely achievable. Like I say, if you support the content and you like the content and you want to support the channel and you want it to continue on, then please go over to that YT channel, do the subscribe and all that cack, and then I'll do what I can to keep the videos coming. Deal? Anyway, I'm currently in Tamworth at Spittal Church, or Spittal Chapel. It's not open, unfortunately, so I can't show you any content in there, but I've got some wicked stories from, what's it called? Fountain Island, the Hutton Fountain Island. I think there was a fountain on there that the wife of Mr Hutton donated to Tamworth for the pigs to drink. That's pretty much all I got at the minute. Now there's a bit more to it than that. It's where they used to hang people and leave them out to dry. It's serious. Anyway guys, I appreciate ya. Please think about going over to the YT channel. A couple of things as well. Jason Reynolds, no, I'm not forgotten about you, mate. Just incredibly busy. I'll tell you what I'll do though, if I drop you my number, you can give me a shout, because I'm absolutely awful, mate. Like, I'm so bad at organising stuff. It's unbelievable. Second thing, go on the Liberty Jamboree. Been in touch with Tia and I want to say Simon. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what we can do. Anyway, Gungate Street. Let's get into it, guys. At the top of Upper Gungate in Tamworth, near the old junction with Ashby Road and Wigginton Road, there once stood one of the town's most unusual landmarks. It was known as the Hutton Fountain, and on the surface it looked like a generous Victorian gift to the people of Tamworth. But the place where it stood had a much darker story before that. Long before the fountain was put there, this road was known as Stony Lane. It was the old North Road out of Tamworth, a rough road leading away from the town towards the countryside beyond. This spot was remembered as the old Tamworth gallows, and one article described 3 highwaymen hanging from the top of Stony Lane, left there on a gibbet as a warning to anyone passing in or out of the town. The bodies weren't just taken down straight after death. According to that account, the law had decreed that they should remain there until all that was left were shackles and bones, rattling in the wind above the road. A grim image, eh? But that was the point. Places like this were meant to frighten people. The gallows didn't just punish the condemned, they sent a message to everyone else. Pack it in, else we're going to string you up. There is another darker thread connected to this old northern edge of Tamworth. In Palmer's history of the town, he mentions a place called Bailey's Grave, somewhere near the northern end of this road. He cautiously connects it with a parish register entry from July 1655, which recorded the burial of Thomas Bailey of Tamworth, who hung himself. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time to prove that Bailey was buried at the exact fountain site, but it does suggest that this part of town carried more than one old memory of death, punishment and uneasy roadside stories. By the late 19th century, that same corner had changed completely. Tamworth was growing and roads were changing. The railway had also altered the old routes, and the old Stony Lane became part of Upper Gungate. Then in 1898 a new monument was placed there, not a gallows this time but a drinking fountain, and a cattle trough, believe it or not. The fountain was given to Mrs Elizabeth Hutton in memory of her late husband, Michael Hutton. It was made from red Peterhead granite, with brass fittings, bronze panels and a lamp rising from the top. It also had drinking cups for anyone that needed them. The lamp itself stood more than 15 foot high. It was made from iron and copper and glazed with a green glass. The base of the drinking fountain and the steps leading up to it were made from blue pennant stone. The drinking fountain itself was raised on a plinth. While the cattle trough formed part of the lower section, there was also a smaller trough for dogs and sheep. which tells you exactly the kind of road this still was when the fountain was built. It wasn't just there for decoration, it was designed to serve people and animals, along with traffic that still moved by horse and wagon. It stood at the junction of the Ashby, Wigginton and Comerford roads, opposite the grammar school, and it was formally opened when Mrs Hutton drank the first cup of water in front of friends, including Reverend McGregor. There were also words built into the fountain. Around the column, raised lettering carried the biblical line, "I was thirsty and you gave me a drink." Just below that, on the front of the die, it said, "Erected by Mrs Hutton, 1898. Now those words matter because they show how the fountain was meant to be understood. It was practical, but it was also moral. It was a public act of charity. That detail matters because Mrs Hutton was not just connected to the fountain. She was one of Tamworth's great local benefactors. After her husband died suddenly, she spent much of her widowhood giving money to local causes. She supported the Bolbridge Street Mission, helped provide a mission hall, and contributed to the restoration of St Editha's Church. She even gave money to the Tamworth Cottage Hospital. In 1889, she paid for a nurse's wing at the hospital in memory of her husband. That wing became known as the Hutton Wing, and the inscription made it clear that it was given in loving memory of Michael Hutton, and as a lasting remembrance of him. So when the Hutton Fountain was raised in 1898, it was not an isolated act. It was part of a wider pattern of charity. Mrs Hutton gave Tamworth practical things, a hospital wing and a mission room, a public fountain that offered water to both people and animals. And that's what makes the story of this spot so strange. The same place remembered for gallows and punishment later became a place of public kindness. A road junction once associated with the bodies of highwaymen was turned into a place where thirsty travellers, working animals and ordinary people could stop to wet the whistle. The fountain became a well-known landmark, but it didn't survive in its original place. In 1968 it was removed from Upper Gungate and it was supposed to be transferred to the castle grounds, but that never properly happened. Instead, according to a later local account, it spent years broken and dismantled in the Corporation raw material dump in Salters Lane. That detail changes the feeling of the story again. A monument built with care and paid for as a memorial, placed at one of Tamworth's old road junctions, ended up taken apart and left in storage. The old gallows had vanished. The old Stony Lane had changed. And now even the fountain had almost disappeared from public memory. Eventually, after pressure from Tamworth Civic Society, what remained of the fountain was rescued and rebuilt in the gardens behind the old hospital in Hospital Street. Now this was probably the only occasion I couldn't be bothered to trespass, but you can take my word for it that the fountain's definitely there. Well, most of it is anyway. Personally, and it's only an opinion, I think that the fountain should have ended up back at the fountain junction. It's baffling that you can just pick someone up and move it just to put a road in. Would it not have been within the capacity of man to have just built around it? Bearing in mind this was a year after we landed on the moon. I suppose the location in Hospital Street could be fitting, because it places the fountain close to another part of Mrs Hutton's legacy, near the hospital where she'd already paid for the Hutton Wing. So the Hutton Fountain is more than just an old drinking fountain, and once you know what stood before where it used to stand, the story becomes even stronger, because in one corner of Tamworth, a place once remembered for death and warning, was later replaced by a monument built to give water, comfort and help.